Woo! Howdy, Ags. Hey, P and Corey here from the Tailgate, where we talk Aggie football every day. Today's episode brought to you by, surprise, surprise, Frida Homes. Building Aggie dreams. Visit fridahomes.com. Check out some of their stuff. Don't forget to email us at agstailgate@gmail.com. Send us some comments, some questions. Remember, we share some questions at the end of the show in questions from the tailgate. So we'd love to hear from you. All right, so today we're going to be talking a little bit about Power 5 conference champs for 2022. But before we get there, a little bit of news and notes. Corey, baseball gets another win in the midweek. UT Arlington 10-5. Keeps on rolling.
Right. Yeah, the Aggie baseball team's on fire right now. There's about as much excitement we've had in baseball in quite a while. If they could find a second starter, man, they'd really be a good team. You know what I'm saying? If they could find a reliable number 2 starter to really,
Yeah,
they're just having.
Absolutely. Those guys. If Dallas can get going as the second starter, somebody else can pick up that slack. I mean, they're going to be tough to deal with for sure. The one thing
the bullpen's getting better.
Yeah, it's definitely improved, and I think partially they've started to figure out who are the guys that they can depend on in those situations, right?
Absolutely.
The other piece of it is, for the most part, those bats keep you in the game every day.
Well, they're getting healthy. I mean, they're not, that's what happened. They talked about it earlier in the season, and I was just like, yeah. But they're saying they had to get healthy, and they've gotten healthy, and it showed.
Yeah. No, great job by the coaching staff, the new coaching staff over there so far. And, they continue to improve. 3 more series in the SEC, South Carolina, and then the 2 Mississippi schools. A great opportunity for a strong finish, and we'll see sort of what happens on that. Outside of baseball, women's tennis is hosting the first and second rounds this weekend over at Bryan College Station. So they've got that going on. NCAA tournaments, team NCAA tournaments. I didn't know this actually, and I'm going to share some of my ignorance here, but apparently tennis basically has 2 separate NCAA tournaments. One,
I didn't know that either,
is the team tournament going on, which starts, like I said, this weekend, and the Aggies are hosting the first 2 rounds. But the other is the individual and doubles tournament. So the actual individual players get selected to participate in that NCAA tournament. The Aggies have 3 different players that are going to compete. So 1 doubles team and I think 3 of them in the singles as well. So
that's great.
That happens a little bit later on in the month. So there you go.
Fantastic. Awesome. Hey,
I know you're excited.
Yeah, I am. Something that is weird is aren't they like the number 1 team in the nation, the Aggie tennis team?
Yeah, number 1 team.
But how do they have a 7 ranking or something like that? What?
All right.
Listen to my podcast about sports.
Oh, my podcast about sports. Howdy, Ags. AP, Corey, here from the Tailgate. We talk Aggie football every day. Brought to you by Frida Homes. Building Aggie dreams. Visit fridahomes.com. Check out some of their stuff. Don't forget to email us at agstailgate@gmail.com. I think for those of you guys who have been watching the show for a little bit, you understand that we do have questions from the tailgate at the end of the show that we like to, at least provide some insight into or some responses to. So if you send us some commentary, we'll get it in on the questions from the tailgate at the end. Today, we're going to talk Power 5 conference champs for 2022. But first, let's start off with some news and notes. Baseball, Corey. Another midweek win. UT Arlington 10-5. Got a series coming up against South Carolina and then the two Mississippi schools over the next couple of weeks. Man, they just continue to build upon what they've done all season.
Oh, absolutely, man. Like we talked about, the hitting's been impressive. The starting pitching, one starter's been good. We just need a second starter. Find a number 2 starter, maybe a third one. That'd be nice too. But somebody that you could throw in there you feel real confident about winning the second game. That's going to be really important come here in a couple weeks when the College World Series starts up.
No, that's a great point, man. If they could get a second reliable starter, boy, they'd really be dangerous going into obviously regionals and on from there in the NCAA tournament. So eventually they're going to need a guy that's going to produce for them if they want to go far in that tournament, right?
Right.
The good thing is that the bats sort of keep us in every game no matter what.
Yeah. I just don't see. I mean, if they don't have the pitching, it's gonna be rough. It's gonna be rough sledding.
Yeah. So baseball continues to do good work. Good job by the coaching staff over there, and obviously those players buying into it. They continue to just get better and better. Women's tennis, and man, this is like one of my favorite teams on the Aggie campus. They are hosting first 2 rounds of the NCAA team tournament in Bryan College Station starting this weekend. So you guys are going to get to visit the tennis complex a little bit. What do you think?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'll be there. Can't wait.
So just to share a little bit of my ignorance here, and I'm never afraid to make myself look dumber, but apparently, and I don't know if you knew this, tennis actually has 2 separate NCAA tournaments. One, they have a team tournament, which is what's starting this weekend. And 2, they've got individual player tournaments. So, for example, the Aggies have 3 of their players. The women's team has 3 of their players that have also classified for individuals and doubles tournament. So, and that goes on later on towards the end of the month when they start. Do you know that?
No.
Yeah, well, there you go.
No.
So
I feel a lot better now that I do know it. I feel a lot better. Thank you very much for that.
Eventually, they're going to crown a team champion, and then they're going to crown an individual champion, and then a doubles champion. I think that's the way that works.
Oh, can't wait. Excited.
I'm excited.
I'll tell you the thing that is a topic right now, though, is that like our tennis team was or is the number 1 team in the nation, the hottest team.
Yeah.
But somebody said they only have like they got like a 7 seed or something, the 7th ranking. What is that about? I don't understand.
No. So
have you heard this?
I haven't heard that. What I did hear is, that their individual players, I think one of them's ranked like 5, one of them's ranked like 8 individual rankings kind of thing. So the individual players are somewhere in there, like 1, 7, and 8, maybe something like that.
Maybe that's what it was. I don't know. I could have swore they were talking about the team being the number 1 overall team in the nation, but when it came to the tournament, they got like a 7 seed out of every. That's what I heard. I'm not sure.
You never know. Maybe that's
right.
What it is. We'll see.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm very excited to maybe get a chance to go watch a little bit of the tennis this weekend. If
okay, call your buddy BDA. I'm sure he'll go with you.
History might be in the making.
Yeah, I can't do this enough.
Now to football.
Love it. Yeah.
I'm watching a very, very exciting ping pong match.
Yeah, anyway. Exactly.
Now to football. All right. So I want to start with this little nugget. We might hit this later on in another episode a little bit more in depth, but your boy McShay at ESPN's come out with his first mock draft for 2023. And Corey, you want to take a guess at how many Aggies in the first round?
Well, it's got to be Antonio Johnson. You got to have Anaya Smith, probably A-Chain. You got to have at least 2, maybe 3. I'm trying to think if there's McKinley Jackson getting any votes. I mean, you might have 4 or 5, 3 or 4 Aggies up there.
So you and Texags have 4 to 6 Aggies in the first round for next year.
No, I'm just saying that. I'm saying some guys. Okay, honestly, I think Antonio Johnson would get strong consideration for first round pick next year. Do you not?
So let me just say that ESPN had 0.
Well, they hit it on the money last year. Last year they had 4 Aggies in the first round, and how many of those were?
Correct.
1.
That's correct. Yeah. So as we know, they're not very good at predicting this. I don't expect it to be 4, 5, 6. Some people want to go 7, whatever. I expect that there's a chance that they get 1 next year. Maybe it's Antonio Johnson. Maybe it's A-Chain. But running backs don't go early very often. But I think 1. 1's the number. If I had an over-under at 0.5, I'd go over. If I had an over-under at 1.5, I'd go under. So other interesting little tidbits there. 5 quarterbacks in the first round, according to McShay. 5. 2 running backs, none of which are named A-Chain, of course, because we had 0. Right? 2 running backs. Bijan Robinson from Texas, one of them. 3 more defensive players for Georgia. I think they had 5 defensive players from Georgia get drafted in the first round this past year. So that'd be pretty impressive. 3 more. Mm-hmm. 6. Count them, 6 players from Alabama, which to me really tells me that ESPN's pretty much just lazy in the way they do this because they just pick the best known players, that the only players that they actually know anything about, and throw them in there.
That's true. I'll tell you, there is one team that might get somebody drafted next year. That's the Longhorns. I'm not sure how many guys got drafted from Texas this year. I don't think it was very many. Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Yep.
But they might. They have Bijan Robinson or whatever his name is. He's some kind of running back there, I guess. I don't know what he does. But something like that surprised me when I was looking at it. The number 6 pick overall in the draft, the quarterback out of Florida, Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
What?
Boy,
I mean, we talked about him. I had no idea he was that high on the board. I mean, Will Levis.
He was splitting time with Emory Jones last year. That tells you. Yeah.
What are these guys? They know something we don't, right?
No.
Will Levis, the Kentucky quarterback. I think he's good. I didn't know he was the number 8 overall pick in the draft. Good.
I like Levis, and I like and we'll talk about where we think Kentucky's going to end up later on.
Hey, check this out. A quarterback that we played one of our first games, the quarterback out of Miami. The Hurricanes.
Yeah.
Number 9 overall pick.
Yeah, Van Dyke. Everybody's very high on Van Dyke. Now,
I'm telling you, man.
This is only, he's only going to be in his second year as a starter. He didn't even start the entire year last year. So, he's new coaching staff and all that. They've got a lot of things to clear up there. But
we could have done a whole show on this freaking next year's draft. I mean, I'm livid about this, right? I am livid about this right here that I'm reading. Miami Hurricanes have 2 players in the first round.
Next episode.
Seriously, man, this is ridiculous.
One thing I think we can both agree on is you can take that and shred it, basically, because it's worthless. It's worth less than the paper it's printed on.
How can you, okay. I agree with some of you saying. I want to know how many of the guys that they predicted would get drafted in the first round last year ended up getting first round overall. I know we had 1 Aggie.
We know that there's 3 Aggies that didn't even get 3 Aggies that didn't even get drafted in the second round.
We know 1 Aggie didn't get drafted at all. We got 1 Aggie didn't get drafted at all.
So there you go.
Yeah. How do you become the best tight end going into last year and now you don't get drafted? There's like 20 other tight ends get picked before you.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. That's the damnedest thing.
All right, so let's talk a little bit Power 5 football, man. And we're going to start, we'll go through the 5. We'll start with the Big 12. Look, I think in general, football-wise, I think this year's as wide open as it gets, honestly.
Right.
I think, college football playoffs, championships, this year's as wide open as it has been in the last 10, if you ask me. Mm-hmm. Let's start with the Big 12. who do you expect to be in competition for that Big 12 championship?
Next year, honestly, it's sad to say, but I think the Longhorns are going to take a big leap after a down year last year. They can't lose to Kansas and some of the teams they lost to last year and still be the same. But I think you're going to have your regular teams up there. I think Baylor will still be strong because that coach is good. They're good. Oklahoma State's got a good coach. I think Oklahoma's going. They're trending down. I don't think you lose a Caleb Williams and the weapons they lost, the coach they lost. Venables, good defensive coordinator at Clemson, but it's going to take a while to get his players in there. He's playing with somebody else's players, and you see coaches do it all the time. They come in there and try to get these guys to do it, and I don't know what kind of offense he's going to run at all. I have no clue.
No offense, I think you're an idiot. No,
why? Because of the Longhorns? You don't think the Longhorns?
I'm kidding about that, but I completely disagree with you. I'm being absolutely honest about that. I completely.
What do you disagree about?
I'm about to list it. One, I think the Longhorns are going to be mediocre again, and let me tell you why. Yeah. I'm not telling you, not because I don't think that there's talent on the field over there. I think they've had talent on the field. However, this year they brought in these transfers that are going to be a big part of that offense that are going to go with Bijan Robinson, one of the tailbacks that ESPN has in that mock draft, right? And they've got a wide receiver last year as a freshman that was a big-time player. You know what you don't hear about, and this is the problem. That defense was horrendous last year, and they didn't add pieces on that defense, and they still haven't done anything to try to fix that defense. But Sarkisian is an offensive guy, and that's where his focus is, right? Having said all that, the problem is not talent over there. It's not talent. The problem has always been attitude. And one of their own leaders this offseason already came out and said, hey, these guys don't want to work for it. You know what the program did? They didn't say, hey, look, everybody better pay attention to this guy because this is how it is. They shut him up. No more media. You can't talk anymore. You're done. So that tells me the kind of attitude that team over there has. They may lose to Kansas again. I'm not going to predict that.
Yeah.
But I think they're a middle of the pack Big 12 team. That's what I think about that.
I just think the Big 12 as a whole is down. I mean, just in my opinion, look at other teams in there. Iowa State's going to be way down from last year. They lost a lot of talent.
Let me get to one other thing that I disagree with you on. Let me get to one other thing that I disagree with you on, and that's Oklahoma.
Don't tell me Oklahoma. Oh, God. I knew you were going to say Oklahoma.
And let me tell you why. Look, everybody wants to give all this love to the outgoing coach, Riley, when the fact of the matter is that program, from the time that got handed the reins, that program actually got worse. In his last year, did they win the Big 12 championship? In his last year, how did that offense look? I'm just saying.
How many years was he at Oklahoma? He was at
Oklahoma for 4 years.
How many years did they win the Big 12 championship? 3.
Oh,
1 year he doesn't win it. Man, they're on a downhill.
He got handed a Ferrari.
That team's going
to crap. He got handed a Ferrari. And all of a sudden, he walks out of there, and, he's driving a Yukon. So,
oh, God. Man, look, you can exaggerate.
Well, I might be exaggerating a little bit, but I'll tell you this. He does not put any emphasis on the offensive line. He does not put any emphasis on the defense. His entire goal in recruiting is to recruit the best wide receivers and the best quarterbacks. That's it.
I think he did improve the defense a little bit over there. I think the defense did get better over time. They showed a little bit strides. The Big 12 as a whole has shown better strides on defense. If you look at teams like Oklahoma State last year.
That's true. That's 100%
Baylor,
true.
And those are the teams that are winning right now, by the way, in the Big 12 are the teams that are playing defense.
And my point is, I think bringing in Venables and his energy and his ability to coach that defense and get them in they're going to be better defensively. I'm telling you, they're going to be better defensively. And I'm not even talking about just this year, but going forward, he's going to emphasize recruiting on the defensive line. He's going to emphasize recruiting on the defensive side of the ball instead of what Lincoln did on the offensive side of the ball, where he focused his recruiting. Okay. And his offensive coordinator, he said, you don't know what offense they're running. Hell, his offensive coordinator is Levy, who's coming from Ole Miss. You know what offense they're running. You know exactly what offense they're running. It's the same. Go, be aggressive, put the ball in the air, but they run the football too, right?
See, the problem with the Big 12 is I think there's a big gap between the top teams, like the Oklahoma States, Oklahomas, and maybe Baylor's, and then the bottom teams like Kansas, West Virginia. I mean, there's only 10 teams in the whole conference, and
Right.
I'm not sure how good TCU is going to be. I'm not sure. They just have some of these middle of the road packs. Iowa State, I think, is going to be way down.
Yeah,
They were supposed to be a lot better than they were supposed to be good last year. I mean, that's the only problem. I don't think there's a really legitimate strong team in the Big 12 right now. As of right now,
you're right about that, but I think it's going to be the same cast of characters, right? And I agree with you on that. Sense. I think it's going to still be Baylor. And don't get me wrong. Look, Baylor lost a ton on defense, and they got guys drafted. Several guys from their secondary, some of their wide receivers, that got drafted early for that matter.
Oh, the 25 players that got drafted out of the Big 12, they got a lot of draft players.
Well,
just saying.
25, for that team. Anyway, so all I'm saying is, I mean, they got to replace some pieces. But are you worried about that Baylor defense, even with Aranda there? Probably not, right?
No, if the Aggies were to play Baylor right now, I mean, even right now, even last year, the Aggies would have beat Baylor, and Baylor was the best team in the Big 12 last year, right? Or Oklahoma State, whichever one you want. Baylor, Oklahoma State, whichever.
I don't know. I don't know that the Aggies would have beat
one.
last year.
Aggies would have beat either one of them. Aggies would beat either one of them.
Look,
Aggies beat Alabama. You telling me Alabama would beat them?
That offensive line for the Aggies, it was horrendous last year, and it limited that offense to a point where at the end of the day, I think they can compete with these teams, but they're not a for sure winner. I don't think so. Not last year. So I think those are three teams that compete. I'm actually gonna give.
I'm gonna put the Longhorns up. I'm gonna put the Longhorns up there. I think they have to be better. I just do. I think Baylor and Oklahoma State will be the cream of the crop right now. They're going to be up at the top, and I think Oklahoma and Texas will be 3 and 4.
I'm actually going to give the nod. I'm going to give the nod to Oklahoma this year.
No, that's wrong.
By the way, a team that I think is ascending. They're not going to get there this year. They're Texas Tech.
Kansas. Oh, I thought you were talking about the Jayhawks. Had a big win last year. Hey, I do like Texas Tech. I think they're getting better too. I think they're getting back more.
Kansas also almost beat Oklahoma last year under Lincoln Riley. Almost.
Yeah.
All right. Pac-12. Let's go to the Pac-12, and we'll talk a little bit about Lincoln Riley here. Look, the Pac-12 still is probably, I don't know if they're the worst conference in the Power 5. Them and the Big 12 are probably competing right there neck and neck. But, somebody's got to win it, though, right?
Yeah, I felt really strong about Utah coming into this year after what they did last year. But you just never know with that Pac-12. I mean, especially with Lincoln Riley going there to USC and him bringing some players from Oklahoma over there. It's just – I guess we watch too much SEC football. The talent is such a big difference between –
in the trenches.
SEC. Yeah, I mean, these guys I think could hang with a SEC team for maybe a quarter, maybe 2. But in the long run, the SEC is just too deep in the trenches. I mean, I'm just saying they're going to beat them up. You're not going to be able to go to battle for 4 quarters. You might go 2, but you're not going to have the depth. I mean,
just out of curiosity, LSU played UCLA last year, right?
Yeah, is that the first weekend? Opening weekend or something?
Who won that game?
Did UCLA win that game? I can't remember. I don't know.
All right, so –
well, let me tell you. Hey, I know Oregon beat Ohio State last year, right? I mean, that was a shock.
Another great point. So maybe we're overvaluing the Pac-12 to a certain extent.
I don't think we are.
But let me start with USC because we've been talking Lincoln Riley. We were talking Lincoln Riley in the Big 12. Let me start with USC because everybody, including the folks at ESPN and everybody else, has USC as the Pac-12 champs, right?
Already.
Because Caleb Williams, because Mario Williams, because they brought in the tailback from Oregon. So this offense is going to be just explosive, yada, yada, yada. It's USC, Lincoln Riley. You know, they bought him 2 houses there in California. So, you know, it must be a good hire.
Yeah.
But let me be clear about this. Last year, USC had talent. But last year, USC's defense was last. Let me say that again. Last in the Pac-12. Is the Pac-12 known for defense, Corey?
No, not even close.
Not even close.
They're all flash, man. Pac-12's all flash.
So they were last in the conference in defense. And in any of these names that we've thrown out here with regards to the transfers and any, did any of them play defense? No, they didn't. So let me just start there. This defense is still going to be horrible. Will they get better? Well, they can't get worse, right? But on the other side of the ball, here's the other part. Me and you both know their offensive line coach very well. It's Henson. How do we know him? Because he coached the Aggies last year.
They were great offensive line last year.
Oh, buddy, were they? And so let me tell you this.
How the hell did he get a job out there? I don't understand that.
Well, and that's the thing, right? So to me, just like the issues that Lincoln was starting to have at Oklahoma with offensive line, because he got handed just a great offensive line with all the good, with a great offensive line coach and great players, and boy, they just got worse and worse for some reason. I wonder why.
Yeah.
Now he doesn't even have a good offensive line coach. How do you expect that to come out?
I don't think it's gonna be pretty.
So that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
So who are you picking to win the Pac-12?
Man, I think it's a clear favorite in Utah, actually.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking Utah, but
yeah.
I mean, I look at the different teams, and UCLA's getting better under Chip Kelly. They were better last year. What's this, year 5 or 4? I don't know which.
Yeah, and he's got a quarterback that's coming back that was a pretty good quarterback, along with the tailback that's coming, so.
I mean, Oregon lost their coach. They're couple good players.
Here's something for you to think about with UCLA, and this is a reason I think UCLA's got a chance to challenge and make it to the Pac-12 championship game. They're too deep on offense and defense. Right? That's 44 players, right? 11, 11, 11, 11. 44
right.
players. 33 of them are 3-year players or more. So juniors, seniors, or redshirt sophomores.
And they haven't transferred out?
On campus, juniors, the great majority of those 33 are juniors and seniors, by the way.
I'll tell you, I'm starting to like UCLA more and more the more you say that.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, that means something. You get players like that. Yeah. And
that means a lot. So,
I think, I'm going to stay Utah, UCLA are my top 2 teams right now.
Yeah, and that's what I would go. Oregon, I think, is just too much transition this year.
Right.
Does Lanning? We'll see what Lanning can do the longer he's there. But I'm not ready to, to give them the chip yet. All right, so let's go to the ACC. Look, ACC has gotten a lot of critique over the last few years with regards to the talent in the ACC and the quality of those programs.
Yeah.
I think this year, man, I think the ACC is going to be actually pretty good with some depth.
I don't know. I don't see the star power this year that they had last year. Last year they had Sam Howell, they had Kenny Pickett, they had the quarterback star power. This year, that quarterback from Clemson, I can't say his name, Ugalala or whatever his name is.
BJ Ugalele.
Yeah, Ugalele. Yeah, he never came to what they said he was going to be.
Yeah.
Clemson's defense was a lot better than I thought they were going to be. They were really good.
But he got paid by Dr. Pepper, though.
Yeah. So, but I'll tell you, I mean, there's teams like NC State that are just solid. They're almost like what you're talking about in UCLA. They have a bunch of returning players, guys that have played a lot of football. NC State's going to be strong. I mean, they're returning, 8 offense, 9 defense, and they were right up there in the top echelon last year, the ACC.
including
Wake
a
Forest.
quarterback that a lot of people have and consider one of the best in college football in Leary, right?
Yeah. And then you got Wake Forest. They have what was that quarterback's name at Wake Forest? I can't remember his name, but that guy I can't remember his name. What the hell?
Yeah.
He threw the ball over the damn field last year. They scored. Seemed like every time we watched their game, it was like a basketball game. It was like in the 50, 60, 70 points a game.
And another team that, like you said, a lot of returners, 8 on offense, 6 on defense, right? Upper class guys, the guys that have been in the program.
It's going to be the same thing though this year. Wake Forest is just going to try to outscore you because they're not going to stop you, and they know that, and that's their game plan. They're like, hey, I wouldn't be surprised if they go inside kick the ball every time they got it because they just can't match up with you on defense. They can't stop you over the course of the game as many times as you're going to stop them, I don't think. I think they're going to have to do some trick plays.
2 things
yeah.
with regards to Wake, because I like those picks. NC State and Wake, I think they're going to be right there. 2 things with regards to Wake. One, new defensive coordinator after that performance last year that was disastrous, Brad Lambert, right? So they can't get worse.
Yeah.
And 2, I think you're very familiar with the Richmond football team. And they get a defensive line transfer from Richmond. What are your thoughts?
Who did?
Wake Forest.
Get out of
defensive,
here.
Yeah, from Richmond, baby.
Oh, God. Imagine that. Yep.
Aren't you a proud Richmond Spider?
Yeah, it's my hometown, man. The Richmond Spiders right there. But no, they Wake's defense will be awful. I'll tell you, our old DC's going to be there in the ACC, coaching Duke. I don't know how much noise they're going to make right away, but they'll be better.
I expect them to be better for sure. Middle of the pack, maybe even upper echelon of middle of the pack. I wouldn't be surprised, but they got too far to.
Whoa! Pump
they
it,
got
buddy.
Too far to go. We're
sitting here looking at a list of teams of. I mean, who's going to be at the bottom feeders of the ACC?
Look, this is what
Syracuse,
I would say is
Boston College.
Pitt's got to take a dip, right? I mean,
they got lost, to. You don't lose.
They lost Pickett, and now their wide receiver, just their best wide receiver, one of the top wide receivers in the country. They're sent to the transfer portal, right? So those guys, even though they get Slovis out of USC, who's a good quarterback, he's got some talent and stuff like that. I just think they have to take a dip. But how about a team like Miami?
That's I mean, we just talked about their quarterback. He's one of the top 10 overall draft picks in the next year's NFL draft, according to ESPN. So he's got to be great. But
yeah, and they need to put some different things around him. I think they got a lot of work to do with the wide receivers. You got to think that under Cristobal, the offensive line has got to be a little bit better. But man, they don't exactly have a ton of weapons. So
see, that's crazy. You're talking about Miami, a Miami team that doesn't have weapons, because Miami's always known for speed, flash. You know what I'm saying? The dash.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's what's crazy. And the turnover chain. Think that and the turnover freaking chain. So.
And then the team I haven't mentioned, you talked about them, Clemson. I mean, you know where they're at. I mean, they're going to be right in the mix. They're going to be one of those teams. Yeah. But they lost both coordinators, and I have a feeling that they're going to take a step back. They do. They
lose a game.
Guys on offense.
They lose a game every year now. It seems like for the last couple of years that they should have. That you're like, they really lose that game.
Yeah.
You're just like, is this Clemson? That happened last year. You and I kept betting on them, saying, "Oh, they're going to beat this team by X amount," and they beat them by like a field goal or something. You're like, you got to be kidding me. Over's got to hit in this game. They couldn't score a point.
And they still go 10-3, right? But you're right. Their defense carried them like crazy last year.
And I still kept betting on them. Still kept losing.
So we'll see. We'll see what they're able to do. But I really don't. I do expect them to take a little bit of a step back. All right. So if you have to put your money, who you betting on?
NC State.
I think I agree. And I don't think I would have ever said that in my life before.
Who's your number 2?
Man, I still think that Clemson's probably up there. Just talent-wise, they've probably got more talent than anybody else. But I wouldn't be surprised if Wake or Miami sort of took that step. More Wake than Miami, probably.
Hey, don't sleep on North Carolina. They got some talent.
I'm sleeping.
They had talent. They had talent. Watch.
And look, they've improved the coaching staff, right? They added the former DC from from Texas, the former Auburn coach. What's his name? Chisholm. So
Gene.
Yeah, Yeah, so he's there now.
Hey, I'll tell you what. Another team is UVA. They had a nice little run last year for a little bit when that quarterback was healthy. I don't know if that quarterback is coming back or not for a 5th year.
I haven't seen
You know what I'm
anything from
talking
Tony. I haven't seen anything from Tony Elliott that tells me he's going to be a good coach. I mean, is he going to have more? Is he going to have more talent at Virginia than he did at Clemson? And that offense was horrible last year.
That's true. I don't know that. I'm telling you, that quarterback from Clemson really let me down last year. He didn't show me much at all. I mean,
don't you think the coach has to take a little bit of responsibility for that?
Not really, not much. No, we don't do it here at A&M.
He's getting paid by Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper.
Exactly, it's Dr. Pepper's fault. Looked out of shape.
I love it. So, Big Ten. All right, Big Ten. Who I think most people would say is the second best conference in the country. They've had a number of teams be very competitive, but mostly it's been Ohio State recently, right? I mean, they've sort of dominated that conference, even though Michigan won it last year. All right, who do you think is the Big Ten champion?
Ohio State, hands down.
Just like that, hands down.
I mean, I don't see a whole lot. Michigan lost too much on defense. I'm trying to think who else. Michigan State lost their running back. They didn't have much of offense besides him.
Right.
They had a couple crazy games. Indiana, a bunch of those middle of the pack teams are worse. I don't think Nebraska's going to be that good. I don't think Illinois is going to be that good. Wisconsin lost a lot of talent on defense, I believe it was. Where did I read? And I mean, Michigan was
eight starters. Wisconsin replacing 8 starters from that defense from last year, which carried them throughout the year. Right, that defense was one of the best in the country.
But that's what I'm seeing. I'm just seeing a big gap between Ohio State and Michigan closed the gap last year a lot, and they were good because that defense. You lose a guy like Hutchinson, the rest of those guys that got drafted, and
I got to say, I agree with you on this one. I I think Ohio State is just too talented, and the other teams have too much transition going on. Right, the teams that would be competitive, I would like to say Wisconsin's going to be right in the mix. But they like you said, they too many players on defense that they're going to have to replace. I mean, their coaching staff is really good, especially on the defensive side. Leonard, the defensive coordinator. I mean, and so they won't be horrible, but they're not going to be as good as they were last year, replacing that kind of talent. I just don't have any faith in them as far as their offense, right? I mean, they sort of just don't have those explosive type athletes and things like that make big plays, and they need those guys. So I would say it's got to be Ohio State. They've just got better talent than everybody else. I will say this. They're not a perfect team, right? That defense was not very good last year, and they had some problems in the offensive line. Those things haven't been necessarily addressed yet. They did get a new defensive coordinator. We'll see how Jim Knowles from Oklahoma State does there on that defense. But I think it's Ohio State's sort of league to win, league to lose. Michigan, by the way, you're right. Ojabo, right? Ojabo and Hutchinson on the edge. I think they're going to be pretty good inside on the defensive line, but they're not going to have that same sort of outside pressure as what they had last year, which was the key for that team all year long.
They're getting a lot better, though. They're, I think, a year in. I mean, they'll be number 2 right there behind Ohio State.
Hey, here's another thing with Ohio State, and this is crazy to me, but 2 first-round draft picks this year, and their best wide receivers coming back. Smith, Nigba, the wide receiver, is just absolutely phenomenal, and he led that team. I believe, in catches and yards last year.
Huh?
How about that?
It's pretty crazy. I didn't know that.
Which probably tells you a lot.
I thought Olave or whatever was their best receiver last year. Was it Olave or who?
Olave, yeah, or Wilson.
Wilson.
Those first rounders, right? Which I think probably speaks more to the fact that Stroud is a really good quarterback, and he started off a little rough last year in his first couple of starts, but man, he got going.
Got a great name.
His cousin has been missing from the pod for a couple of weeks now. So
some bullshit.
That is some bullshit. All right, so SEC, what everybody's been waiting on. Here we go. Let's go to the real conference. You know, all NFL players come from the SEC, so must be the best football conference in the country.
Right.
Corey, you tell me who's up there, who's competing for the championship in the SEC this year?
Man, I'll be honest with you. The West, you're going to have Alabama, of course. You're going to have – there's a lot of question marks still on our A&M team, a lot of question marks. We don't have the talent is there. It's just a matter of putting it all together. But there's going to be a lot of good teams in the West. I mean, I got to lean towards Alabama winning the West right now. If I'm speaking realistic, if I'm speaking with my heart, I'm saying A&M. But if I'm speaking with my mind, I'm saying Alabama. But there's other teams in the West that are going to give them a fight. And I'm not even talking about the whole SEC. I'm just talking about the West.
Right.
Because I'm looking at the East as there's a lot of toss-ups.
Before we go to the East, let me comment on that. Because, look, Alabama, I think if you look at them, you may say they may have the best offensive player and the best defensive player, right? Will Anderson. Mm-hmm. I think Will Anderson is the best defensive player, hands down.
Right.
You know, some people may make the argument that Bryce Young is the best offensive player. I will say this about Alabama, and I think I said it in an earlier episode. I am concerned with the talent around Bryce Young. And I also do not think that he's I don't think he's C.J. Stroud, for example. I think he's a really good quarterback. He just won the Heisman. I think he's a really good quarterback. I don't think he's the elite of the elites.
Yeah, plus their coach isn't that good either. I got you. I see.
Let me say this: 3 wide receivers gone. Their top 3 wide receivers gone.
Every year.
And hold on. Year. And there's the guy that's supposed to replace him, the freshman from last year, gone. He's playing at Texas, by the way. Their offensive line wasn't very good last year. Their 2 best offensive linemen, gone.
Dude.
Their best running back, gone. I'm just saying.
Wait. Listen what you're saying. A&M's best offensive lineman, and our offensive line wasn't very good last year. Gone.
Yeah.
Our best running back or second best, whatever you want to call him, gone. Our whole defensive line, gone. So that's what you're saying. You're talking about Alabama here and A&M. But you're saying A&M's going to be pretty good next year, but Alabama's not.
Oh, what have I said? What have I said this entire time about A&M? I said
they're awesome. You said that
I expect them to be better. I expect them to be better, but they have some.
How can you say they're going to be better when you say all this stuff they lost at A&M, but Alabama's not going to be any better? But they're losing all this. They're going to replenish. That's all they do.
Because Alabama, I don't know if you know this. Alabama went 13-2 last year, 7-1 in the conference. Okay,
they lost to A&M and they lost to Georgia
in the national championship game. National championship game.
I'll take 13-2 every year for A&M and be happy if we lose the national championship.
They're up here. They're sitting up here. So is it ridiculous that when you start up here, you may go down? No, it's not. We're down here.
How often is Alabama
We're down here.
How often has Alabama gone down?
8-4, by the way. 8-4.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
And you got to get – even if you get to 9 wins, that's up.
Come on, Leho.
I'm just telling you.
I don't know what the hell you've been doing, but, man, you are crazy.
Let me just say this. Those questions about Alabama, to me, make it where there are teams, and I'm going to go with 2 in particular, Arkansas A&M, that can be in the mix to win the West and have a chance.
You're not giving Mississippi State a chance?
No, I'm not.
They're not even the FPI favorite Auburn over there. That's like number 7 or 9 or whatever the hell they were in the FPI.
I'm not gonna justify that with an answer. Okay, so how about the East?
Dude, I'll tell you, the East. Georgia talent wise is because it's Georgia and they've been recruiting like badasses for the last 5 years. But Tennessee has closed the gap a lot. Kentucky has closed the gap a lot. Kentucky, surprisingly, their quarterback's on the radar for being one of the top 10 picks in next year's draft, according to ESPN. And their defense under Stoops has been solid year in and year out.
Every year.
And his offense has surprisingly gotten more I don't know what it's not like A&M's where it's predictable. It's unpredictable. I don't know what the hell he's going to do. I like watching him. Some games he might
They got a lot better last year.
Well, he might run the ball 50 times one game. The next game might throw it 50 times. I don't know what the hell he's going to do. I love it.
All right. Look, and I agree. And I think those teams, Tennessee, Georgia, Kentucky, probably the top on that side. I think, that it's more competitive than it has been in years past. Look, Georgia's only returning 4 defensive starters, right? I mean, and I guess they're all getting drafted next year because ESPN says so. But, it's a team that's going to transition a little bit because they've lost 15 guys that were drafted in the NFL draft, right? There's going to be some drop-off there. All right, who's your SEC champ?
I'm going to say Alabama.
Okay. I'm going to hold mine for just a second because we got a question from the tailgate. I love it. Look, I think this is going to be the most competitive year in the SEC on both sides of the ball in the last 10. I think there's going to be, there's going to be upsets, including at the top with Georgia and Alabama. If the over-under win total, which it was last year for Alabama, is 11, I'm going under. 100%.
Well, yeah, you said they're going 8-4. Of course you go under.
I did not say they're going 8-4.
You just said that like 10 minutes ago.
I said the Aggies went 8-4. Listen better, man.
I thought I heard you saying Alabama's going 8-4 next year.
No. I did not say that. Let me be clear. I did not say that. Okay. All right. So questions from the tailgate brought to you by Rawson Distributing, assisting Aggies with all their drilling needs. Aggie owned and operated. Let's start with this one. Aggie basketball gets 2 transfers. Thoughts?
I'm confused. Where the hell did you just go, man? I thought we were talking about the SEC.
We are. We're gonna finish with that one.
All right. Yeah, I don't know much about the transfers they got. I usually keep up with college basketball better than that, but I'm not for sure. I got to do some more research on these guys. I've heard good things. Where are they from? Where are the 2 players from again?
Yeah, they get Anderson Garcia from Mississippi State, a big 6'7" guard. I mean, he was, he didn't average 5 points or something over there.
Yeah, I watched Mississippi State play. That name doesn't ring a bell.
Yeah. And then Julius Marble out of Michigan State, who actually big 6'9" forward kid, a post kid that
I did watch him play.
That team. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched him play.
So I think he's probably a contributor for him, especially with the size, because we need help inside.
It's not what we needed, though. I'll be honest with you. Neither one of those 2 players.
They lose Q Jackson, obviously, to graduation, but then Hassan Diarra, Aaron Cash, and Marcus Williams all transferring out. I don't think Marcus Williams is any surprise. Hassan Diarra maybe a little bit. I guess my only commentary on all this, and I think Buzz will be fine, and this team is going to be good next year again.
Yeah.
My only commentary on this is it's kind of I don't like it. I don't like it one bit, especially in basketball, because in basketball, basically the entire roster turns over every year. And it's just so inconsistent, and I don't know. Anyway, that's my comment.
No, I'll tell you. I mean, that guy Marble from Michigan State, he's an upgrade over Henderson. And this Garcia kid, I don't know much about him, so I couldn't imagine him being.
I'm excited about his size. I like his. I mean, they said he's a guard. He's a guard, decent 3-point shooter. 6'7". So we know Buzz can use those big bodies and that length and do some things with him defensively.
If he couldn't do much on an average to below average Mississippi State team, I can't imagine him doing a whole lot here.
Good point.
That's just my opinion.
All right, next question, and here we'll finish off with this one. Who is going to play in the SEC championship in 2022? So you said Bama's going to win it, so I'm guessing Bama's part of your answer.
Yeah. And I'm going to take a flyer. I mean, I really like that Tennessee team. That Tennessee-Georgia game, I think, is going to be – the only thing I'm worried about is Tennessee might beat Georgia, but I think they might lose to somebody like Kentucky, and then Kentucky will beat or lose to Georgia and then maybe somebody else. So I think I don't know how the tiebreaker is going to work, but I'm going to put – I'll say Tennessee. I'll say Alabama-Tennessee on a flyer.
Look, I love that Tennessee team, by the way. I really do. I think Hendon Hooker has been unbelievable for those guys, and they just and unexpectedly, by the way, because remember last year I said I didn't think that this team was going to be very good, and defensively they played better than expected. They weren't great; they played better than expected, but offensively they were phenomenal. Once Hendon Hooker took the reins over from the Michigan transfer, I can't remember his name. So I expect them to be very good. The only thing that I would say with them is they got road games at LSU, at Georgia, at South Carolina, and they play Bama. Right?
All
Which
right.
they do
So
every
maybe
year.
I made a bad pick. I might need to change my pick.
I'm just pointing out, the difficulties that they're going to have with their schedule. I'll say this. I'm gonna go way out of left field here. All right.
Taking Kentucky.
I'm gonna go Kentucky. And I don't think, and that's not the way out of left field that I'm coming from.
No, that's not.
I
like that pick. I haven't seen Kentucky's schedule. I have to look at their schedule and see what it's like.
Look, they got road games against Florida.
They got Georgia
Ole
at
Miss,
home.
Florida, Ole Miss, and Tennessee. They get Georgia at home.
Yeah, because I remember them being on the road.
They played Mississippi State at home. So those, yeah, and so those are some of their tougher games. The toughest one in that scenario to me is Tennessee on the road. But hell, they may be playing Georgia towards the end of the season for an SEC championship.
Who'd you take out of the West?
And out of the West,
Arkansas. I bet you. How much? Anybody want to bet this? I bet he says Arkansas.
I'm going to go with Arkansas.
God knew it. God damn it.
I think it's going to be Arkansas and Kentucky. Nobody would have ever guessed that.
Yeah, it's not. We're not watching basketball here, dummy. We're
But
talking
look
about
at this.
football.
You know who their road games are? Arkansas has road games against Mississippi State, BYU out of the conference.
They'll be BYU.
Their schedule, obviously they get Bama. They get Bama at home. They get the Aggies at the neutral site. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Arkansas beats Bama, A&M beats Arkansas.
I know. That's what I'm saying
Bama
about the
beats
East
A&M,
too.
right? I wouldn't be surprised if it's one of those scenarios at all. Though, and this is why I'm going to pick Arkansas. I'm being 100% honest.
So you got Arkansas versus Kentucky in the SEC championship game. All right, let me ask you this question. Once you figure that out, who's your Final Four team then for the college football playoff?
Hold on. Let me just say this about Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
You've heard me say it time and time again. I am super, super impressed with what Pittman has done. 9 wins last year is more than the 3 previous years combined at Arkansas, which I think is an impressive feat on its own. But I also expect him to continue to improve. And they've got a quarterback there that is, if he stays healthy, he's going to give that team a chance to win every game. And the reason being is they have an identity. They have an identity that they're going to be physical, they're going to pound you, and they're going to make you play defense the way that you're supposed to play defense. To me,
I disagree with you.
There's very few teams with an identity in this conference. They have it.
So you mean tell me Arkansas and Tennessee, one of those 2 teams is going to be in the Final Four in the NCAA?
I said Arkansas, Kentucky.
Arkansas, Kentucky, even better. Yeah. Arkansas or Kentucky. So who's going to be your Final Four teams? Ohio State.
I'm not ready. I'm not ready to go there yet. I'm not ready to go there. That's for another episode.
We picked all the Big 5 champs.
That's,
you got to
pick
for another episode. 4 of those teams.
Hey, lots of controversy in the college football playoff.
Yeah, I mean that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard you say. Arkansas and Kentucky. You're talking basketball. It sounds like no. I mean this is ridiculous. Ain't no
Arkansas,
way.
Kentucky, take it to the bank.
I'll take Alabama and Tennessee, but I really think Alabama, Georgia again will happen. I don't want it to, but I think it will.
Alabama, Tennessee would be a regular season rematch, by the way. I could see. Look, and in all honesty, I could see it being Alabama and Kentucky. I could see it being Alabama, Georgia. Right? Yeah. All those things are possibilities. I'm not real confident in Tennessee because of their schedule, not because they're not a good team.
Did you imagine what you just said comes true? That means that Alabama won't be in the Final Four. Georgia won't be in the Final Four. And what we said earlier about NC State beating out Clemson won't be in the Final Four. So the only team that we'll have in there that we're used to seeing is Ohio State.
Yeah. And look,
So,
and you're right. You're right.
I'm fine with that, but it's just will be different.
And I would love it if that were the case, right? I'm tired of seeing the same old schools.
I'd like to see the same old. I want to see. I want to see the new guy beat him up.
You're a Yankee fan. We know what you like. We know what you like.
Right.
Pay him more. Pay him more. Win more.
Exactly. I want the top dog to stay on top.
Not me.
That's what the Aggies going to be, baby. The Aggies going to be the top dog pretty quick, and so you better get on board or get the hell out of the way.
I'm all for that.
Oh, now you're all for that.
Of course, I'm always all for that. I'm just realistic in the way that my expectations are. Do I want them to win?
I'm realistic. You're not realistic. You're sitting there saying Arkansas and Kentucky. That's not realistic.
Look, is it realistic that both of them make it? No. Is it
no,
realistic?
That's what I'm saying. That's not realistic.
Is it realistic? It is realistic that both of them make it. But it's unlikely. It's unlikely that both of them make it. But it wouldn't be unlikely that one or the other makes it.
I think one or the other could. Both of them? No. Now, I mean, you're talking about NC State winning the ACC, which I like that pick. But then you're saying Clemson's out. You're saying Georgia's not going to win the West, and Alabama's not going to win the East. So you got three of the big dogs right there. You're saying are not. All right, Alejo.
And
let's go to Vegas.
And I'm ready because me. I like to bet on the long shots anyway.
Yeah, I see that.
And I picked the champion for the last couple.
Oh, here we go. Oh, go ahead. There you go. Here it goes.
But then add to all that that you got a very, very experienced UCLA squad over there out west against Utah. Did one of those two teams make it into the playoffs?
Nah. There's
maybe a Big 12 team.
They have some kind of West Coast bias in the NCAA basketball tournament, and I wouldn't be surprised to do the same thing again next year in football. And they find a way to get one of those freaking teams from the West into the Final Four.
Hey, you know as well as I do, if USC was a 2-loss USC team with a Pac-12 championship, they'd let them in.
Hell yeah, they would have. They're looking to put somebody from the West Coast out, but they're always out of the conversation by the 7th week of the season. Everybody beat everybody, and y'all had 3 losses.
Look, Utah almost beat Ohio State last year in the Rose Bowl.
Going, oh man, we're already out.
Utah almost beat Ohio State in the Rose Bowl.
Almost. That means a lot. I like that. Almost.
Oregon did beat Ohio State.
A&M almost beat Mississippi State last year. A&M almost beat Ole Miss last year. A&M almost. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot almost.
And realistically, could the Aggies make it into that conversation? I think they could. I think they need some things to go their way. Obviously.
I mean, how many teams in the nation are more talented than A&M right now?
Oh,
how many can you count on your hand?
Not very many.
I mean, what, 5, 10 tops?
I wouldn't even go that. I'd go 3.
Name them.
3.
Name them.
Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State. There they are. That's it.
All right. Sounds good. Good way to end it, buddy.
Hey, Giga Maggies, AP Corey signing out from the tailgate.